But you're right about that. We're going to get into some Joe Bidenisms in a second. But first, you all asked for it, and we've got some Michael Shellenberger. We're going in for some Michael Shellenbergers. I think that this man is a paid. By the way, Violet Crumble, thank you for the super chat. And Kuro Hikes, thank you for the super chat. Kuro Hikes says Tom Hanks' son's tattoo. I think that Michael Shellenberger is. Raza Remen, thank you for the super chat. The baseline is like my hairline, it keeps moving. Indeed. Michael Shellenberger is. I feel like he's a paid speaker for the powers that be, or the paid speaker for some think tank. I believe that he's probably on the payroll, just like Tony Heller and some other people that are putting out misinformation about climate change, or putting out misinformation about what's really going on with climate change. I mean, it is. I actually listened to this interview, and it's wild, the things that he's saying. A lot of the things that he's saying are almost like right-wing kind of talking points, or very, very centrist neoliberal talking points. I mean, he's saying stuff like the climate activist movement has been taken over by people with mental health issues, and that these people are unstable, and yeah, it's wild. I've listened to this interview, and almost any part of this interview is just ridiculous. But I'm going to play just a couple of excerpts from this interview with Michael Shellenberger from Sky News Australia.
Talked to her about the science, and I explained the science to her. Her friends are very anxious, and they've been misinformed. And adolescents these days, they have a lot of things to worry about. Anxiety and depression are rising among everybody, really, but certainly among adolescents. And I thought it was not right to be terrorizing, school children and giving them false information. I felt like somebody needed to separate out science from science fiction.
You don't want to be terrorizing school children and giving them false. He's saying false information. I really don't know what is false about climate change information. And which false information? What information are you talking about? The information that we're in a really bad place as far as climate change, the information that we're heading closer and closer to an ice-free Arctic. The information that we possibly could see 1.5 C in the next 4 years. What information is he saying? And again, when he says we don't want to terrorize the children, I think we're talking about by children he means adults. Audio is bad. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Let me rephrase that. Anyways, well, let's listen to a little more of Mike Shellenberger, and I'll try to remember to. Yes, guys, I got it. Let's try and I'll keep a handle on the auto.
And I know for a fact that there are people that are involved in IPCC who are also bothered by the alarmism and wanted to see some pushback to that and some better communications of this. And so
there are people involved with the IPCC. Actually, Michael Shellenberger is part of the IPCC, right? So yeah. And so yes, the IPCC wants some pushback against this alarmism that's going on. Anyways, so let's listen to a little more.
I felt emboldened that I needed to speak out, and I think that the majority of scientists are not activists. There's actually just a handful of scientists that feel the need to terrify people.
Wow. So a lot of scientists aren't activists. Only a handful of scientists feel the need to terrorize people, i.e., tell people the truth. He is a giant tool. I could play this whole thing, and it's just like, whoa. He actually said in this interview. He said in this interview that he thought most climate activists were, were unstable, mentally unstable, and that the climate, the conservation community has been radical since the 1970s. So it was fine up until, the conservation community was totally fine. And, they're full of very, very well-meaning and very, intelligent and, stable people. But in the 70s, the climate activist movement, was overrun by these mentally unstable lunatics. Okay. This guy is not real. No. Gene, this guy is, he really exists. He's a real person. But he's out there like he's just one of those people that are out there saying like, oh my God, this alarmism is hurting people and is terrorizing children, and they're very bad people for telling people how bad climate change is. I think that this person is. I think he's paid. I think he's on the payroll of a fossil fuel company or a think tank. Somebody is paying this guy to go out and say all this stuff. Let's read. Let's go to an article around Michael Shellenberger. This is from. Sorry about the mic thing, guys, but thank you for the heads up. What's the date on this? I can't even see it. Oh, June. Well, at least June 28th, 2020. Article by Michael Shellenberger mixes accurate and inaccurate claims in support of a misleading and overly simplistic argumentation about climate change. Specifically, Shellenberger claims that climate change is not making natural disasters worse. He tweeted this out the other day, and I had to say something to him. So climate change is not making natural disasters worse, guys. These are all normal. This claim is inaccurate and contradicts reports from the IPCC as well. So this is inaccurate. He's telling people lies. He's making false claims about climate science. This man is lying to you, but saying that he cares about climate change or understands climate change. So this is a new form, or another form, or just a mutating form of soft denial. So you don't have to go out and deny science or climate change. You could say like, "Oh, I believe in climate change, but it's really not that bad." And you know who I'm talking about. There are plenty of these people out there. Oh yeah, climate change is real, but it's really not. It's not an extinction level event. It's not that bad. It's not causing climate disasters. This is all, the weather's, the climate's always changing. This is all normal. So this is scientists who reviewed his article, noted several misleading claims about wildfires, including fires have declined 25% around the world since 2003. So that's what he said in this article. The buildup of wood fuel and more houses near forests, not climate change, explain why there are more and more dangerous fires in Australia and California. By conflating so although global burned area declined 25% from 1998 to 2015, this is driven in part by non-climatic factors such as clearing land for agriculture. by conflating purposefully set fires and wildfires, as well as climatic and non-climatic factors driving these fires. The claim relies on flawed reasoning to suggest that wildfires are not affected by climate change. His book, he's promoting a book called Apocalypse Never. So these are climate scientists who are basically contradicting his claims that, scientists are not activists and they're not around, out there scaring the children. Also, he's a proponent of nuclear energy. He sees a single technology, nuclear, as the one true solution to climate change. Is it that Michael Shellenberger is being paid by the nuclear industry, or is he being paid by somebody else? Is he being paid by fossil fuel corporations? Excuse me. TCR Galaxy, go back to sleep. Exactly. Michael Shellenberger is a dangerous human being. And he is a huge part of the problem. Hunter Z, Black Bear News, what's the best way to discredit him? The best way to discredit him is just, tell him he's full of shit. Wherever you see him posting his stuff, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, follow him and tell him that he's full of shit, that he's a liar. Push back on him. Or, you can do your own messaging about him wherever you can. But I'm telling you right now, he's full of shit. He's a liar. And he's most likely a paid liar. And he's really trying to disavow the idea that, climate change is something that's going to hurt people or affect people or hurt children. It will. And lying to children is one of the shittiest things you can do. Straight up lying to children. I understand shielding children, maybe you don't have to ram climate change news down children's throats. I don't think that that's a good idea. But if a child says, "Hey, what's going on with climate change?" or how bad is it? Lying to them is not the way to go. But Boiled Rope Lamppost, keep sharing that article. The other thing is, I really don't think that you should lie to adults. Right? It's one thing to talk to children about this, and you should be careful about that. But he's using children as a shield to sugarcoat things for adults. Because again, when you say you don't want to scare the children, you really mean you don't want to scare adults who might be concerned about this, who might want to take action on this, who might want to push back against this, who might want to question the government about this, who might want to question the media about this. He is on the IPCC. Yes, he's like a member of the IPCC. Yeah. So that tells you a little something about the IPCC and how little they want to tell people the truth about this. All right, let's move on from Michael Shellenberger. So in contrast to Michael Shellenberger, this is Chris Hayes, who is a news anchor. Is he on CNN or MSNBC? I don't know. He's a fairly well-known celebrity news anchor. Tweets out this. On the heels of what I was talking about yesterday, eventually and probably sooner than later, climate change, can you all see this? Climate change will make COVID look like a brief summer thunderstorm. Wow. So is he saying this on air is what I wonder. I mean, it's one thing to tweet this out. And again, I'm seeing the really frightening, scary climate change news on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, maybe in a few articles here and there, but I am not seeing any of it. Any remarks on this, on air from anchors, from news people, telling people on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, anybody, anywhere, saying like, hey, we're in a very bad way here. But he's willing to tweet this out, which is fairly amazing. And this actually refutes what Michael Shellenberger is trying to tell you in his handsomely bound book, Apocalypse Never. But anyways, people are like, hey, thanks for telling the truth, Chris Hayes. Wild times. Yes, Judy Truitt, I was surprised to see that as well. I mean, Chris Hayes is one of the, semi-better people. MSNBC, okay. I just don't watch either, so I'm not really sure. He's one. He has the ability to tell the truth once in a while. The Hill is MSN2. Well, yes and no. Although they do have quite a bit of a more progressive platform. The Hill does. No representation. Don't see it on Secular Talk or Jimmy either. You're right. That, this is the big problem I have with progressive news channels. Like I enjoy progressive news channels. I appreciate them for pushing back on the mainstream news. Again, though, progressive news channels and all across the spectrum, everywhere, Secular News, Jimmy Dore, Graham Elwood. I'm going to say Graham Elwood talks about it a little more. I'm going to say, what is his name? I can't remember his name. Redacted Tonight. You guys know who I'm talking about. He talks about climate change definitely a little more realistically than most places, but I just don't hear it talked about even on progressive channels. And they're really doing a disservice to people. It should be a large part of a progressive channel's platform. It is a ratings loser. That's why they don't do it. On a large level, that's why they don't do it. You're going to get a lot more views talking about political intrigue than you would. Kuro Hikes, the Majority Report is not progressive. I don't like Sam Cedar is a neoliberal straight up in sheep's clothing. And same with TYT to me is like neoliberal light or progressive light, whatever you want to call it. But Sam Cedar, I have no time for Sam Cedar on any level. Anyways, yeah. Oh, Lee Camp, thank you. Yeah, Lee Camp talks about climate change, and I give it to him. Like, he's one of the more climate change aware, progressive, news thinkers. I like him for that. He doesn't pull any punches. He tells the truth. Thank you for the heads up, guys. And he's funny too. Jamal Thomas will have Guy McPherson on, even though Jamal Thomas doesn't necessarily cover, it's like always an aside. It's always like, oh, and climate change is really bad. But he does have Guy McPherson on, and I do appreciate Jamal for doing that. Again, one of the better channels for coverage of climate change. But still, does he talk about climate change, Sam Cedar? I just never watch him because he's so terrible. He thinks everything is a conspiracy? Okay. Yeah, I really don't like Sam Cedar very much. I have an aversion to him. If he talks about climate change, then good on him. But, yes, climate change still taking a backseat on many progressive channels. Hunter Z, quick plug, Alex Smith, Radio Shock podcast. Okay. Tom Hartman, yes, Tom Hartman is good. I will give you that. Tom Hartman is better. Tom Hartman does have Guy McPherson on regularly, yes. Jamal used to be a fab. What does that mean? Since he changed his show, he sucks? I don't know. Yeah, I can't get into Sam Cedar. And Sam Cedar kind of echoes a lot of neoliberal viewpoints that I can't give any time to. Yeah, I mean, if you like him, Jay Thadcast, I mean, I have friends that like Sam Cedar. That's fine. Yeah. So, AOC will go on Sam Cedar show, but she won't go on Jimmy Dore's show. You know why? Because Jimmy Dore will question AOC, what AOC is doing. That tells you a lot right there. The fact that AOC will go on Sam Cedar show but not Jimmy Dore's show might tell you a lot about the difference in the platforms. Michael Brooks is better than Sam. I agree with you. And I kind of feel like on Michael Brooks, but he's better than Sam Cedar for sure. Anyways, let's move on. It's good that Chris Hayes has covered this week. I mean, I'm almost at the end of my time, and I haven't really covered the meat of the things I want to cover yet, so we're going to go a little longer today, guys. So, after Michael Shellenberger is telling people that, climate change isn't that big a deal. From July 13th, Death Valley sets record for planet's hottest temperature in years. And the heat wave is forecast to spread. So this is from 2 days ago. Ongoing heat wave. Breaking heat wave records. But, climate change isn't responsible for this, if you believe Michael Shellenberger. The official weather observing station in Death Valley, called Furnace Creek, for obvious reasons, reached a scorching 128 degrees Fahrenheit on Sunday. That is the hottest temperature anywhere on the planet since 2017, and only 1 degree behind what experts say is likely the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth. This is just one small part of a brutal heat wave baking the deep southwest and lower plains states right now, before expanding eastward and northward later this week. Dozens of records were set over the weekend, and dozens more are on the way this week. Excessive heat warnings and heat advisories cover 50 million Americans in an area stretching 1,700 miles from the deserts of Southern California to the beaches of Panama City, Florida. And here you go. There are heat advisories and heat highs and heat index. Excuse me. 113 Palm Springs, 113, 115 Phoenix, 112 Midland, Texas, 100, 110 Dallas, 107, 113 Austin, 98, 116 Baton Rouge. The heat index is 116 in Baton Rouge. Jesus. Yeah. But, climate change isn't affecting extreme weather events at all. Nope, never did. This is not a thing. Just go back to what you were doing, guys. Everything is fine. Everything's fine. Officially, the world record is 134 degrees Fahrenheit, set back in 1913 in Death Valley. But again, 100 years ago, how were they measuring temperatures? A thorough analysis by weather historian Christopher Burt, 2016, makes a compelling and generally accepted claim that the 1913 record is essentially not possible from a meteorological perspective. Instead, he concludes it was likely an observer error. But whatever, you can have an anomaly here and there. It's the trend that matters. It's the trend. How many weather records have been set and broken in the last 5 years? All over the planet. And if you just look at those record-breaking temperatures over the last 5 years in many different spots of the planet, you can see that there is a trend. As a result, most extreme weather experts conclude the real hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth is 129.2 degrees in 2013, for which there is photographic evidence. And this is also at Furnace Creek, June 30th, 2013. Other notable daily records include 121 degrees in Palm Springs, 116 in Phoenix, 113 in Tucson, 110 in Roswell, 109 in Del Rio. Towns in Wyoming and Utah also hit record highs above 100 degrees. Not related to climate change, of course. Excuse me. Anyways, I don't know. Oh, you guys aren't seeing that. Sorry. Sorry you guys are not seeing the article. I apologize. 108 heat index in West Palm Beach, says Deacon. And ouch is correct. Jay Accurate, see, that was back in 2013. Climate change isn't real. Huh. Also, who was it that posted? I think it was Forest Dweller. There's a wildfire happening on an island in the Arctic right now. Like the farthest northern reported wildfire, I think. I'm sorry, I can't remember the location. But anyways, very, very close to the North Pole, there's a wildfire happening right now. Let's move on. Another tweet by Gallifreyan Jedi. Scientists, we're going to hit that iceberg in 20 minutes. Trump, icebergs don't exist. Biden, we'll wait an hour, then steer to port. Okay. Exactly. So let's look at what I wanted to talk about today, even though we're already at noon. But this is fairly big news. A lot of people are talking about this. And you know what? I'll give this a B for effort, because at least, this is probably the strongest thing that Joe Biden is trying to do, and that's not saying very much. Joe Biden has come out saying that he's not going to legalize marijuana. He's come out saying that he's not going to overturn qualified immunity for police, people that are involved in fatal shootings. What else? He's not going to give people Medicare for all. He's going to expand the ACA. He's not going to eliminate student debt. I mean, he's really not going to do anything progressive on any level. And this is the most like progressive thing that he is giving lip service to. Maybe some of this might be good, but most of it is not good. So I'm just going to preface this reading of this article that most of this is pretty much bullshit. But we're going to go through this a little bit. Joe Biden unveils aggressive $2 trillion climate and jobs plan. Sounds good. Except for the part about the jobs. So they're trying to tie climate change to giving people jobs. And again, I really hate to be such a wet blanket on the whole economy thing, but making jobs happen is actually making climate change happen, right? If you're giving people a whole bunch of jobs and people are out there doing things and driving their cars and taking planes and making things and building things and doing things, right? All of that is climate change in action. Jobs, jobs, jobs means emissions. But anyways, I had to preface this with that. Proposal outlines $2 trillion for clean energy infrastructure. Again, clean energy infrastructure is a lot of emissions, and climate solutions to be spent as quickly as possible in the next 4 years. So at least they're not trying to shoot this out to 2035 or 2030, or this is a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan. This is a 4-year plan. So at least they're like, okay, we're going to put $2 trillion on this plan for 4 years. Okay, that's something. I can't knock that they're trying to do something. It's the something that they're trying to do that probably deserves a lot of knocks. Joe Biden has unveiled a new, more aggressive climate and jobs plan, which advisors say he should take to Congress immediately if elected president. The new proposal outlines $2 trillion for clean energy infrastructure and other climate solutions to be spent as quickly as possible in the next 4 years. What would be the Democrats' first term in office? Last year, he proposed $1.7 trillion in spending over 10 years. So this is a bit more aggressive. Again, Bernie Sanders proposed $6 trillion, and I don't know what his timeline was. I think it was 4 years or 8 years or whatever. Addressing the economic crisis is going to be priority one for President Biden. A senior campaign official told reporters this will be legislation he goes up to Capitol Hill immediately to get done. The reality is that we will be facing a country that will be in dire need of these types of investments that are going to be made here. Two crises are converging: a devastated economy and high unemployment that could drag on for years as the nation struggles to gain control of the coronavirus pandemic, and a rapidly closing window to significantly cut heat trapping emissions and lead on global climate action. Biden unveiled the climate plan, the second part of his Build Back Better proposal, in remarks from Delaware on Tuesday afternoon. When Donald Trump thinks about climate change, the only word he can muster is hoax, Biden said, referring to Trump's previous claims that the crisis is fake. When I think about climate change, the word I think of is jobs. So, half a percentage degree of, above hoax is when I think about climate change, I think of jobs. Okay. In a detailed climate policy speech, Biden said his proposal would create 1 million jobs in electric vehicle manufacturing. Oh boy. How many emissions is that going to create? 1 million jobs building electric vehicles. So, again, not clear on the actual climate change science. 1 million in upgrading buildings. Okay, again, more emissions. And 250,000 cleaning up extractive industries. Okay, maybe that's good. That's probably the best change, maybe. That's probably the best job sector. Biden said he would give Americans money back for switching to cleaner cars and making their homes more efficient. Okay, nominally, I guess these are better things. Again, this is not, if you really want to go to the root of the solution for climate change, you really got to talk about degrowing the consumer economy. And this is not at all degrowing the consumer economy. Making more cars and selling people more things is not degrowing the consumer economy, which is driving climate change and climate destruction. More important than even, all those emissions plus all the destruction that all of this manufacturing is going to create. Excuse me. The new goals align Biden more closely with three primary opponents: the Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, the Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Jay Inslee, the Washington governor. They follow the recommendations of a unity task force of Sanders and Biden supporters that was co-chaired by the New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who co-sponsored the Green New Deal. Biden staffers painted a picture of a modernized America with the cleanest, safest, fastest rail system in the world. Okay, well, rails are good. They're good as long as we're taking cars off the road. But, adding trains and cars at the same time, oh boy. the biggest electric vehicle manufacturing sector, 4 million upgraded buildings, and 1.5 million new sustainable homes and public housing units. They pitched the spending as a jobs plan as much as a climate program. The blueprint aims for a clean electricity system, including renewable power and nuclear energy by 2035. Biden would not ban fracking for natural gas, which would require an act of Congress. So, okay, here comes the problems. Here are the holes. They aim for a clean electricity system, including renewable power and nuclear energy by 2035. Huge, huge hole. So he wants to increase nuclear energy, as does Michael Shellenberger. Biden would not ban fracking for natural gas. Okay. What the F, Joe Biden? But he would prohibit new fracking on public lands. Okay, well, I guess that's good. These are very, very incremental and very weak policies to fight climate change and the destruction of the oil industry. Gina McCarthy, the former Environmental Protection Agency administrator, who is now president of the Natural Resources Defense Council Action Fund, said the plan was by a long shot the most ambitious we have ever seen from any president in our nation's history. Okay, well, that may very well be true. It's probably the best thing we've ever seen. It may be the best thing we ever see. Who knows? Labor unions and environmental justice communities would be central to climate efforts. Campaign staffers said climate change hits low income and communities of color hardest. A background document noted. Okay, those are at least, lip service to, better ideas about this. Biden would create a national crisis strategy to ensure the government responses to disasters are equitable, start a task force to decrease climate risks for the most vulnerable, and establish an Office of Climate Change and Health Equity. All right, so all of those things are great, are good. They still leave out a lot of education around what really needs to be done in the face of climate change. But at least they're trying. Again, this is the best thing that Joe Biden is doing politically. Because nothing else he's doing politically is really any good. He's not really helping. As far as all of his other economic policies, he's really not for equity on any level. So, no Medicare for all, no student loan easement. No marijuana legalization. He's not really about equity, but he's, giving people a lot of good feeling words around equity and climate change. That's all very nice and well. Is he really how is this going to be carried out? Is this really going to happen? Is the other question that people need to ask. Anyways, let me read the rest of this. The faster timeline is meant to ensure that no future president can reverse climate gains. I guess that's good. In the way Donald Trump's administration has boosted fossil fuels, Trump plans to, I don't really understand how that ensures that a president can't reverse climate gains. I mean, so let's say he actually does accomplish this in 4 years and he loses in 2024 to, another Republican who just comes in and reverses everything that he did. I mean, I don't understand that. This sentence makes no sense. Anyways. I guess some things that would be put in place and actually functioning programs, but why couldn't a Republican just come in and cut all those programs immediately? They totally could. Much of Biden's plan would require agreement from Congress. Gaining control of the Senate is critical. Again, of course, all of that makes this all more difficult. Trump campaign spokesman Hogan Gidley. Hogan Gidley. Giddily claimed Biden's plan would kill 10 million American energy industry jobs and called it a socialist manifesto. Woo boy. Okay. The bullshit is thick, guys, and it's coming from every direction. So yeah, that's basically his plan. Well, again, I'll give it a B for effort. Or, a B on a lot of really nice sounding words and lip service from the Biden administration. Are these things going to come to pass? Who knows? All of this sounds like a lot of yeah, sure, this would be great. His stance on fracking is abysmal. His stance on nuclear energy, abysmal. The whole idea that we're gonna job our way out of climate change, totally stupid. So the basic premise of this whole plan is false. The basic premise is totally nonsensical. That's my summation of this plan. It sounds really great, but the basic premise of this plan is nonsensical. You're going to job your way out of climate change. We're going to build a lot of real green things to sell to people. And how is that building going to happen? How is that extracting going to happen? He says he wants to clean up the mining industry, but you're extracting all this stuff to make electric cars and more phones and more computers and more, green up buildings. How is that going to reduce emissions? I don't know. I really don't know. Again, we need radical transformation in the face of climate change. We need to radically stop what we're doing, like stop our economy on several levels. So that doesn't mean more jobs. What that means is giving people money that they can live on, giving people housing, giving people, areas of land where they can grow their own food. Maybe we could create jobs teaching people, or having like a social worker army, agriculturalist or agriculture army of people going out and helping people learn how to grow food, right? Helping people set up farms and co-ops. And, we really need to start educating people on the dangers to the planet of air travel and car travel. Maybe rapidly upscaling, mass transit, and at the same time reducing the number of cars on the road. Mandating that we reduce a certain numbers of cars on the road. How do you do that? I mean, you're obviously going to hurt the auto industry, which you can't do with any Green New Deal. You can't, say we're going to chop the auto industry in half or 75%, but that's what we need to do in face of climate change. But is anybody in power going to ever tell you that? No, they will not. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel at the links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.